So I'm Jen Roberts. I was born in California, but I've lived in Indianapolis most of my life. Grew up on the west side, live on the south side now, near south side. I grew up very much in the church, super duper involved. I led worship in high school, like in the youth group. I was at church at least 4 times a week, if not more. Parents got divorced at 8, when I was 8 rather, excuse me. And religion got kind of wonky for me past that, so I kind of had to like pick and choose what values made sense and what values didn't based on what was being shown to me versus what was being told to me as truth. So I think we'll go backwards in time. So in terms of influence, the most recent out of the 3 that I chose, which was very hard, side note for me, because I'm not nearly as talented as a lot of the people that really influenced me, at least not in guitar areas. So the first song is Boys Better by the Dandy Warhols. I chose it because it's just a song that I could play and do justice, because the Dandies are not like a band that I listen to because of any one specific thing. What I think is the most magnificent about them is like their all-over sound that they create as a unit. But that being said, that's what made it difficult to pick a song. But Christian Taylor, the lead singer, when Patrick, my husband, the guitar player in Veseria, the band that I'm in, when he introduced me to this band, I fell in love with them. And then soon thereafter I realized that a huge part of why I loved them was the fact that this lead singer, Christian Taylor, he changes his voice from song to song to suit the vibe or the feel of the song, and that at that time was huge for me because I was 3 or 4 years, time is weird, into my first ever band, my first ever project, which is now 10 years old, Veseria. And I was like trying to find my voice as somebody that like grew up in choir and in worship bands and in band and all of these other music things. I'd sung so much music, but it was always somebody else's music, and I was trying to do it justice and make it sound the way that it should. And when you get on a stage, when you get on a stage and realize like this is my sound that I am presenting to the world, that's scary, and it's also immensely intimidating. And it took me like a year to realize that alone, much less that like I didn't know what my sound was. I mean, I've been married for 10 years, so a lot of that, not a lot of it, good portions of that have been a struggle, but man, there's so much to be said for coming up to those struggles, whether it's like huge, really intense, you know, we don't see eye to eye type couple struggles, or like really small day-to-day, like, oh my god, I don't want to pick what is for dinner, please just choose, you know. All those things can be heavy at different times depending on where the individuals in a relationship are, and it is really very cool to be able to work through those intense, heavy, difficult moments and see through to the other end, and continue forward with all of, you know, the knowledge and growth that you experience through said struggle. All right, so we're going back in time from the Dandies to my first ever project, actually, which I just sang backing vocals for a guy that I met when, like, I would go to Starbucks literally all the time in high school. It was across the street. And he played there every Wednesday. And I picked up on his songs and started just kind of like humming the harmonies down below underneath them, because it was just like easy to pick up on and just fun and felt good for me. And then he ended up asking me to like legit sing with him, and I got to play a few songs, you know, a few shows with him. I was 18, so like a lot of bars wouldn't let me play there, and some bars would, but I'd have to like sit outside until it was our time to play, and then I'd have to like awkwardly go in and like play, and then like, okay, cool, bye. But not only was Brandon Javella immensely influential, musically speaking, because obviously high school, you're 18 years old, 17, whatever, so easily influenced by people that you find interesting or trustworthy, or, I mean, there's a lot of different adjectives you could put in that space, but I just thought he was such an amazing musician and such an amazing lyricist. And not only did his style and just like no holds barred, this is the way that I play music. It was very like punk rock, but also folk, and just a delight. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, and I respected the crap out of him as a musician. But he also actually influenced like my music taste in general. He made me like mix CDs, you know, back before the interwebs, or how we like shared musics. He made me mix CDs, and that, I mean, a large portion of the music I listen to today is because of this guy. I convince you for one more hit, it's a good deal. 2 for 1, dear, get some good shit. See my hands shake, we'll put my heart in a baggie. You can grind it, pull the stems out, and these smoke clouds, they are empty, and they're hanging all around my head. That when I'm home, we can make love by appointment or at random. But when I'm home, we'll be ready for some flowers and a big hug and some chocolates on a bad day. 2 years ain't that long. 2 years years ain't that long. 2 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 years ain't that long. I worked so hard all through school. Like, I was such a teacher's pet, real talk. Like, you wouldn't know it to look at me now. But I was such a goody two-shoes and wanted so badly to do so well at everything and just to be the best at everything I did and to impress everyone, but like, you know, parents, teachers, the people that you want to impress at those certain times or whatever. I ended up, my last semester in high school, not graduating. I had a 3.78 GPA my first semester, and then started just totally cutting school. I went to like maybe 25% of my last semester and ended up failing 2 classes and slipped through some cracks because they were classes that you like had to get or like had to pass to graduate. So with a 3.42 and 60 credits, I still did not graduate. And to this day, like I look back and I feel bad for, you know, 8-year-old Jen through 17-year-old Jen that just worked her ass off so hard to get such good grades and took like extra courses online and classes during summers. Like I took summer school, like 3 classes a summer all through high school so I could take all the band and choir classes I wanted. I literally always a freaking music nerd. And then didn't graduate. So, massive failure. Fun fact, I'm getting my GED soon. So, hopefully, you know, eventual unfailure. One more step back in time. Still in high school. Used to hang out in Broad Ripple whenever I could possibly get away from everything. And my favorite place to be was Broad Ripple Vintage. So this next song I chose is Riders on the Storm by The Doors. And if you've ever been to Broad Ripple Vintage, you know that they play The Doors 100% of the time that they are open. Maybe when they're not open, I don't know, I haven't gotten that privilege. But that place became such a connection to positivity and like good vibes and like feeling at home at a very influential time in my life, that The Doors became this just like soul-filling sound whenever they came on in my life. And not only is that like the case and remains the case, I had an amazing experience driving home one night when I was working at Starbucks long ago. I had closed. It was like a terrible shift. It was like the worst shift. And it was late and it was dark and I was stoned, obviously. Am I allowed to say that? Awesome. I was obviously stoned. And I got in my crappy car that didn't have a tape deck or a CD player, so I had to listen to the radio. And I'm driving home in the dark, obviously. And it starts pouring, like insane thunderstorm, lightning, the whole kit and caboodle, like massive, like raindrops. You know what I mean? Like you can like feel and hear the intensity of those kinds of storms, and it was just like not even messing around. And I was about it. But I'm driving home, this hits so suddenly, I've got the radio on, and Riders on the Storm came on the radio, and I'm like turning into this gigantic open field in the direction of the apartment that I lived in at the time. And it was one of the most religious moments I've ever experienced.
Riders on the storm, riders on the storm. Into this house we're born, into this world we're thrown. Like a dog without a bone, an actor out on loan. Riders on the storm. There's a killer on the road. His brain is squirming like a toad. Take a long holiday. Let your children play. If you give this man a ride, sweet memory will die. Killer on the road. Girl, you gotta love your man. Girl, you gotta love your man. Take him by the hand. Make him understand that the world on you depends. Our life will never end. Gotta love your man. Riders on the storm, riders on the storm. Into this house we're born, into this world we're thrown. Like a dog without a bone, an actor out on loan.